Today is Tuesday. Rosh Chodesh Nisan Tavshin Ayin Daled. We're on Peres Menachem Sefer Mamar Tavshin Yud Aleph Tavshin Yud Beis. Mamar Kimei Tzeischo Mitzrayim. Achim Shal Pesach Tavshin Yud Beis. We are on page Reish Samach Vov at the paragraph V'yesh Levayer. Let's try to recap what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe is speaking about miracles, and the Rebbe explained that generally there are two types of miracles. Miracles that are beyond nature, that defy nature. And miracles that clothe themselves in nature. Miracles that are beyond nature are like, for example, the miracle of the splitting of the sea, right? Or the miracle of changing water into blood. Then there are those are miracles that obviously defy nature. Then you have miracles that clothe themselves in nature, and in that you have two types. You have miracles that clothe themselves in nature, but when you look at the narrative, you can see
Purim, maybe.
That they are a miracle. For example, Purim or Hanukkah.
Yeah.
And then you have miracles that are so clothed in nature that the one with whom the miracle is performed doesn't even recognize that a miracle is taking place.
Like yesterday, I got paid by a customer. I didn't think it was going to happen. Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
It's not a miracle, but nevertheless.
But the Alka Shimoni brings the marshal for that. For example, somebody was sleeping in a bed and a poisonous snake comes slithering up to the bed, and then the person gets up. And as he gets up, the snake gets startled and slithers away. Then the Rebbe went on to explain that there is nature, natural conduct, the way Hashem runs the world in a natural way. And even in the conduct of nature, we find an aspect which is related to Hashem's infinite power. So in other words, what's a miracle? A miracle demonstrates that Hashem rules over nature. In other words, it reveals Hashem's unlimited power. That He's not limited to a given type of, or He's not limited by a given type of system, if you will. And He can override that system, He can break that system, or He can cause that system to behave as He desires, as He wishes. In nature, you also find Hashem's infinite power, where, yes, we find in nature, in created beings, their particular natural tendencies, their particular natural characteristics, which are a result of a limited godly force, right? Fire behaves in one way, water behaves in another way. Why? Because of the particular godly energy, godly force that is clothed within fire and water, and so on and so forth. But then you have the constancy in nature. Since the world has been created, there's no weakening and there's no change in the way nature behaves. The sun rises and sets every single day for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So what do we see? Where does that come from? That emanates from an unlimited aspect of God's abilities. So we have, in other words, you have miracles that defy nature, miracles that clothe themselves in nature, and the miracles that clothe themselves in nature, you have two types. The Chanukah and Purim type of miracle, and then the miracle that is not recognizable. And then you have an aspect of Hashem's unlimited power, which is associated with the contact with nature itself. That's basically what the Rebbe is saying. I want to ask a question. I wonder if you can help me out over here. I want to go back for a moment to this idea, the two types of miracles that are clothed in nature. One is the Hanukkah and Purim type of miracle. Clothed in nature, but you can see that it's a miracle. Then you have miracles that are not clothed that are clothed in nature to such an extent that I don't even recognize they're a miracle. Right? The Rebbe, in footnote 22, if you remember, said that so far as the world is concerned, it is a nature. It is a miracle because it actually happened. It's just that the person hasn't seen it. So that's the slight difference between that and a miracle that's clothed in nature. Let me ask you a question. The fact, in effect, what the Rebbe is saying is that the fact that the person doesn't see the miracle happening, that puts it into a different bracket. What does it mean when you put a miracle in a different bracket? It means it emanates from a different aspect of godliness, right? The point that Rebbe is making is that the lower the miracle, the more the miracle clothes itself in nature, the higher its source. So by definition, a miracle that's clothed in nature, which is obviously a miracle but clothed in nature.
So say, for example, the sun comes up every day.
Well, that's nature.
That's a high, but so that's you wouldn't constitute that as a very high miracle.
Okay, very good. We'll get to that in a minute because, for example, the Chacham Tzvi says that Teva there's no Teva. It's a miracle. I think he calls it Nest Midi, a constant miracle. I think that's his expression. But let's leave nature to the side for a moment. Let's look at what the Rebbe is saying over here. What the Rebbe in fact is saying, what the Chazal are saying, and the Rebbe quotes, is that there are miracles that even the Baal Hanes, the one with whom the miracle is taking place, is not aware that the miracle is taking place. What does the Rebbe take that? What does the Rebbe deduce from that? What does Chassidus do? Chassidus says that means that it comes from even a higher source. Even a higher source than what? Than miracles that are clothed in nature, which could be seen as a miracle. So what's the difference? What does that mean? Because I don't see the miracle taking place, that means that it comes from a higher godly source. Let's analyze that for a minute. How is my subjective position in terms of the miracle, how does that have an impact, if you will? How does my seeing the miracle or not seeing the miracle, clothed in nature, how does that make a difference as to which divine level it comes from?
There's parallel in modern physics.
Go on.
The observer...
In quantum physics, right?
Quantum physics, how the particle is observed, it's already changed.
Has an effect.
On the particle.
I thought about that as well. Right, so what David is saying is that in quantum physics, when you observe particles impacting on, for example, something that's blocking them, if you will, if you observe them, they will hit their target, if you will, they will disperse, right? If you don't look at them, so what does that mean?
Everything has cause and effect, and every miracle has an effect on us.
So, in other words, in the example in quantum physics that you're bringing, it's the other way around. It's my observation that causes the particles to behave in a different way. Here, what he's saying is that the divine energy causes me to observe it in a different way. It's the divine energy. One type of divine energy will cause me to be able to see the miracle that's Melubish B'Teva. It's clothed in nature. If it's from another divine energy, that is that divine energy that what? That causes me to be not Makir B'Nisai. Not to recognize it. It's the other way. It's slightly the other way around. Okay, so all you did was you brought an example for a situation where observation and behavior of phenomena are related. But what's the meaning? How does that work? What's the pshat?
What do you mean, how does it work? What is the reaction?
Why is it that the way I observe something can have an effect on how something behaves? Or why is it that...
Because every action causes a reaction.
This is observation.
Yes.
Observation is already an interaction with something. If you didn't observe it, it has no impact on you. You have no impact on it.
So in other words, what you're saying is that observation is a real phenomenon in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's not just
But the observation doesn't change. The observation by you will not detract from that particular event happening. It's just you just happen to be observing it and be aware of it.
that's my
It
question.
still happens, but it doesn't. It still happens. You don't cause it to happen. You just observe it. You don't-
Correct. That's my question. So why is it that when you say that since I'm not observing it, since I can't observe it, or I can't, I just happen not to. Take for example the example that the Yalkut Shemini brings. What would happen if the person gets off the bed and does see the snake and he sees him slithering away? It's the exact same thing is happening. In one instance, I'm just not aware. In the other instance, I am aware. And it's that observation that is the telltale sign from which level of godliness it comes. If I don't observe it, it's from a higher level of godliness. If I do observe it, it's from a lower level of godliness.
I don't understand that. So the snake, if you don't observe, so you're looking the other way, and the snake.
I don't know. I just don't know. I'll never know that that's what happened.
That's a higher level.
That means it comes from a higher level of godliness.
If you look at it from another direction, what you're really talking about is finding meaning in variations of randomness. I mean, there's a mudslide.
I've got it.
There's a mudslide, and a lot of people are killed, and you
If a
were there or
thief-
you weren't there.
If
How that's a level of randomness that you say, well, hold on, I survived that.
So fakert. So that okay.
So therefore, you're saying it's a different level of God that is impacting on your life, and it's.
And if take exactly your parable, there's a mudslide, and these people don't survive, and the other person does survive. The only difference is he's not aware that there was a mudslide. How does that change?
Or if I've got it, if a thief
Because
comes-
are you given the opportunity to have seen the hashgacha process, or you're not being given that opportunity. There's in terms of the scaffolding falling, which I think you're saying, which is always very close to my heart.
I'm getting concerned.
That's something that if you don't see it, it still has been hashgacha process on you. If you do see it, then you are given that opportunity to take meaning out of that.
I think I've got a suggestion. If a thief comes into a house at night, and you sleep through it, and he comes in and disappears, and you don't have to have that confrontation, so that might be a higher level than whether you wake up and you have to chase him away and face the possibility.
That's something else because
The Gemara says that we have miracles, constant miracles. You don't see it, you don't know it.
that's what we're talking about. But it seems that what the Rebbe is saying is, we need to delve into this deeper, that whether or not I am aware, it's exactly the same miracle. It's just whether I'm aware that it's happening or not aware that it's happening. It's not that causes it. That's the telltale sign as to whether it's from a lower level of godliness or higher level of godliness.
That's in relation to you only.
Only, obviously. That's what
If you
that's
don't
what seems.
observe it,
Nothing changed.
Yeah. So if you do observe it, your behaviour, something in you is going to change, whether it's not from that particular situation. Like if you didn't see
That's something
a
else.
snake,
Yeah,
then next time you get up, you're going to be a bit more careful.
I understand all that. But I'm talking in terms of the koyach eliki, the godly power that causes one thing or another thing to happen. So whether or not I observe, just observe. That is a telltale. In other words, if Hashem decides that I should see the phenomena, that means that it comes from a lower level of godliness. If Hashem decides that I should not see that phenomena, that's a higher level of godliness. So it's all related.
We say davening on the self-worship of Chol Yom Yom. What does it mean? On the miracles that you do over there with us.
It's also, I feel the Okay.